Hi, and welcome everybody to the Capgemini Intelligent Industry stage. We're going to continue the momentum on the topic of Gigafactories this afternoon as we want to speak more on the advanced connectivity for Gigafactories. We have three distinguished panelists that are going to come up here and speak in a little bit more detail. We have Jan Diekman, that's coming from Ericsson. We have Shamik Mishra from Capgemini, and a great colleague of mine that we are only going to go by one name only, Anastasia. Come on up.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, I hope the energy levels are still high because we are hosting one of our favorite topics for us telecoms geeks, which is connectivity for a greenfield environment. And basically there is only one exam question, and it is, if the whole shop floor is software defined, how can connectivity not be and still be cables? So I'll start by addressing Shamik, our CTO of connectivity, and ask what makes connectivity unique or different in the context of gigafactories?
That's a very obvious question, so it's hard to answer. So, for example, for the past 2 days, I had no connectivity in my phone, and I was really troubled. You can understand that if devices in a factory don't connect, and they are unable to send data, the entire process stops. Now the question is, how do these devices connect with each other? How do the devices connect to the central systems? So connectivity is pretty much important, and it's been there for years now. I mean, decades maybe. And there are a lot of ways to connect. Industrial Ethernet, there are fiber network, there is copper, wireless, and now cellular networks like 4G and 5G as well. So from a connectivity perspective, it's important for a factory operator, for example, in case of Gigafactory, to be able to manage the process, to be able to observe, able to increase speed and accelerate the process itself. More importantly, no factory is static. A lot of new devices gets added, a lot of new stuff gets added. And in order to seamlessly add them to the system, if it's connected, it's easy because it's just plug and play. And you're just able to connect to a device. The device can discover the inventory and be able to connect to the systems as such. So production goals, I think, is pretty much is quite important. Then the context of Gigafactory, as there's also, it's linked to how warehousing and how logistics is managed in a factory itself. So you have automated guided vehicles, you have warehouse robots and robotics to be done to transfer material from point A to point B. There are a lot of track and trace capabilities that are required in a factory shop floor. And all of that can be made easy and easily observable at the same time if we use connectivity technologies. So on overall, connectivity, I think, is the most important digital fabric that is connecting the processes, devices, and the overall ambition of that particular Gigafactory.
Well, I'll underline that. Connectivity is very important and very often is overlooked.
Indeed.
So Shamik explained a few reasons why connectivity is unique in the setup. But how does it translate into product requirements? I've been here today, a lot of comparison between 5G and Wi-Fi. So what does it mean in terms of products? What do we need?
Well, if we talk about product requirements towards and let's boil it a bit down to campus networks or private 5G networks being deployed in a factory. First of all, I don't want to create new problems. I want to make my life easier. So these systems should be very easy to install, to run, and to life cycle. So basically, what you would want is a system that is as easy and as familiar to manage as a known Wi-Fi system, but bringing, of course, the advantages of cellular networks. I think secondly, of course, it's the ability to scale the system. Not all factories go for an all-in-one approach first. We're talking here mainly about greenfield factories, and that is, I think that's a unique opportunity for those type of factories to introduce new technologies because the processes are also defined not from scratch, but are newly defined and are optimized right from the start. So we have a great opportunity here to either gradually or punctually deploy new technologies like 5G, and it's not a very new technology, but in production, it's a new one. Looking at the introduction cycles of new technologies in manufacturing, I think we can say it's a new one. So the importance is really in having a stable, convincing, and easy to manage system right from the start.
And I would add predictable and dependable, like you configure it once and then you know what to expect. But you said 5G is not new, but it's newer. Has it reached maturity? Like you are one of the most recognized manufacturers of 5G products. You have had many deployments, macro networks and private. Has it reached maturity? Can we say that it has enough functionality?
I think, I think it does. Cellular brings a few functionalities right from the start, and that is, for instance, mobility functionality that you miss in some other technologies. In cables, obviously, but also partially in technologies like Wi-Fi. And also the 5G standard, 3GPP standards on 5G is maturing basically every day we're speaking here. And we're getting to a point now where, and we're showing that also here on Hannover Messe, where you really can start to run and deploy even critical applications, safety critical applications over 5G. I think one of the big hurdles actually in introducing it into real production is the step introducing a new technology into an existing process. So wherever there is a disruption in the process, we see it's much more likely to bring in a new technology like, or new communication technology like 5G in this case.
Understood. So, Shamik, I know you alluded already to the use cases. You mentioned mobility and you mentioned AGVs. But in terms of inside the factory and the automation of processes, capabilities, is there something you would like to call out where 5G can have a unique impact and accelerate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most obvious ones are those which require mobility. So large real estates would need a lot of coverage, and autonomous vehicles or autonomous guided vehicles would be a very important use case for 5G because you need mobility as well. We also spoke about track and trace from a warehouse perspective, but there are also applications which today can be moved to cloud. For example, SCADA. There can be applications which are based on industrial processes can be decentralized. A certain part of it can run inside the shop floor, certain parts can run outside the shop floor and maybe in a cloud. You can keep the most important elements inside the shop floor and simplify the complexity. And for that, you need a lot of connectivity because data is distributed in a shop floor. And in a distributed data model, collecting data from different parts of the process, collating them and managing all of that requires a fairly consistent and reliable connectivity background or a connectivity fabric. Apart from that, one of the key challenges inside any factory is that a factory often works like a mesh network. So there are devices connecting to another devices more or less peer-to-peer. Whereas wireless connectivity is a tree-like structure, so it goes from a device to a base station to a core network and then comes back. But 5G is evolving towards communication like sidelink technologies, which Ericsson is taking a very strong interest there. There are also devices today which are low power, but can connect to the 5G network in the realm of what is known as reduced capacity or RedCap devices. So the biggest challenge today for 5G is the lack of devices, and therefore we have to use routers, switches, and others to connect devices. But as soon as the device ecosystem rapidly grows, I think a lot of these processes can be automated in a more reliable manner using 5G or any other connectivity mechanism for that matter.
Well, I'll come back to the ecosystem topic and devices and how we can smooth that. But something came up. I would like to ask you, one of the features of 5G, if you had to distinguish for manufacturing of batteries or discrete manufacturing, what would that be? Reduced capacity devices, RedCap, or location positioning improvements? what should everyone know that is building a factory about connectivity that they don't know because they use fiber and Wi-Fi?
You mentioned a few, and I would say it's all of them together, because 5G is providing a connectivity platform that can cater for these different application needs by providing a dedicated quality of service depending on what sort of service you put the device on. And that means, like, instead of running different networks catering for the different application needs, you can have multiple applications running on your 5G network, like from sensors that are not at all time critical, up to maybe computer vision, which requires high uplink capacity and might be time critical or might not be. And then in the very end, we're talking lastly about existing time critical control protocols that to a certain extent can be run over 5G in order to flexibilize your production and your shop floor. Think about like a redesign of the shop floor. Of course, you will most probably not tear apart all islands, right? I think we heard that in the speech before. But you might want to reconnect these islands in a different way. And you might want to also haul your data over in real time to make the right decisions to a central intelligence. And AI, of course, is no longer a buzzword that requires more compute power and makes instant decisions on all the data acquired. And I would like to come one step back. The ease of data acquisition with a wireless technology, of course, is much, much bigger, or it gives you much more freedom to connect more devices and collect more data than you would have to, than you can if you would have to wire all of them.
I can tell you're passionate about it, but something I hear often for our clients is it's expensive. Is it worth it, the delta? What is your point of view on the price? Is it truly expensive or more expensive?
I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, if we look at the endpoint ecosystem at the moment, then I think we can say yes, a 5G device will always be more expensive than a Wi-Fi device, for instance, where the prices are really, really down. When it comes to the infrastructure, we have seen in deployments that are also public on our website in a warehouse in Korea, that the density of deployed antennas we needed was so much lower than the needed density of Wi-Fi access points that there was even a saving in the OPEX invest for the infrastructure installation.
That's quite interesting, and I think maybe we are a bit of a shy industry and we don't share these concrete outcomes more broadly, but okay, price is becoming better and functionality is good, but still there is an element of risk. Gigafactories have very aggressive targets. They need to ramp up very quickly. Can we make it easier for them to adopt something that is completely new to them? We are a services company. What is our role?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest barriers of adoption of cellular technologies have been is to think too much from a use case point of view. Yes, use cases are important, but if the business decisions are driven out of use cases, often the value of the connectivity isn't understood. One of the key things that as Capgemini we try to do is to do an assessment of what's really required, because not everything needs 5G. Not everything requires the cellular connectivity. There is the scope of connectivity technologies coexisting in a shop floor. But then there are certain technologies where 5G's benefits, even from a price point of view, is way better than other connectivity technologies. So it's an important element for any adopters to look at the price versus what you anyway need to do from a connectivity standpoint. The second aspect is that there is a need of an IT/OT integration in any kind of gigafactories, and for that, what is the right location for that integration? What technologies to be used, whether it's an edge compute or otherwise? What kind of standards to be developed? I think those are critical, and those have to be developed in the context of the gigafactory as well. There are other features in 5G roadmap. which are very centered around manufacturing and shop floor. Sidelink is one of them, deterministic networking is one of them. So these features also has to be accelerated so that the benefits of cellular wireless inside a gigafactory is fully realized. So there's a lot of work to do, but then we have enough to get started with gigafactories.
And we have a lot of responsibilities for the ecosystem.
Absolutely.
But the same question to you, Jan. How can we help our clients together? How do you do that already? Lessons learned, any advice?
Yeah, first of all, I think have a digital agenda. That is my first point, and maybe it's, I don't need to say that here, but if you don't know what to do with your data, if you don't have a plan, then you will have a hard time to build a business case, no matter in what way you acquire the data, no matter in what way you flexibilize your production. Secondly, I think either you have that knowledge yourself or get advice in order to scope and shape the network. Because as every radio technology, 5G doesn't free you from a decent radio network planning that really caters for the needs you see in the near future. Third of all, I would say just do it. Because we see so much hesitance in, yeah, how should I try, how should I start? We've been working a lot in the last years with partners to really bring them also into a position where we can offer complete 5G applications available on the market today. So just go for it, think about it. Where can I solve problems? Having a stable, reliable, and secure connectivity with different qualities of service within my operations. Where can I flexibilize more? Where can I collect more data? What sort of data helps me to become better in operations, reduce scrap, reduce rework, that sort of thing. So I think it needs a bit of an entrepreneurial mindset to make it happen.
Fully agree, and I think it's a confirmation and validation that 5G is such a big topic this year in Hannover Messe. But I don't know if you have any closing remarks, or we can ask for some questions.
Well, I think we made a lot of remarks, so maybe we have some questions to...
Don't be shy. Do we have any questions? All right.
Well, we'll be over there.
Well,
Okay.
yes, they will be available for the rest of the fair if you do have questions that you think of or want to ask in private.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.